ESPN 105.9 The Zone.
Anyone else?
I mean, that's a joke to me.
Well, there you go.
Anybody else got any questions of jobs? Is not a booster with a big enough blank check.
I love you, Mike Tomlin. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. Bo Bounds, Jay Meadows with you. Good morning to you. We'd love to hear from you. The show is brought to you by the amazing, sizzling, medium rare steaks. Kessler Prime in the Renaissance. KesslerPrime.com to make a reservation. Elijah Craig Bourbon is the official bourbon of the Out of Bounds show. It's award-winning Elijah Craig Bourbon. The small batch is amazing. You've got the toasted barrel, the 18-year, among others. And Briarwood Wine and Spirits has it, of course. And as soon as the barrel pick gets here that we picked out in August, we will let you know. It will go fast and furious on the shelves of Briarwood Wine and Spirits. For those of you listening in the Pine Belt or that are running Highway 49 to go to the coast or the beach or both, or wherever you're going, don't forget that Jamie Ferris with Lincoln Road Wine and Spirits Store has an unbelievable selection of bourbon and Elijah Craig Bourbon too. And shout out to Jamie Ferris down in Hattiesburg, Mississippi and Lincoln Road. He's got barrel picks for days and days and days. And then so does Nate Dogg at Briarwood Wine and Spirits, 4949 Old Canton Road here in Jackson. And he and Leslie are wine aficionados. So if you need some vino, you know where to go. All right, Bo Bounds, Jackson Meadows. Let's tee this thing up. Steve Robertson at 8:30. Steve covered Charles Cross high school and college because he was a big recruit. Mississippi State had to beat Bama out for him. You know, that thing went down to the midnight hour. Charles Cross ended up having a really good career, but you knew he was one of those guys that was just going to get better and better. And when Blake and I were out at the NFL draft in Las Vegas in 2022, Charles Cross was drafted in the first round by the Seattle Seahawks. Today, he's a Super Bowl champ.
That's fact.
Okay?
Big time.
You know, Jones County, Mississippi, you had to beat the big boy when they were the big boy. I mean, that was I don't remember exactly what year it was, but that was like 17 or 18 class, and that was when Saban was roaring, and it was tough to beat him on anybody. And you got him, and he became a really good player. He had to gain a ton of weight. You know, usually there's so many times Mississippi State and Ole Miss sign guys that have to lose weight. Different day and age, I guess, a little bit now. I mean, you would sign guys that were 300, 310, 320, and then you needed to get them to 290. Or maybe even, a little bit less. But I want to say Cross came in at like 250, 260, and you had stacked some weight on him. Now, had he been with Dan Mullen, there's no telling. But Moorhead signed him, and he played his last. Remember what it was? Maybe all 3 years? Or was it in the transition of Moorhead to Leach? Anyway, Leach was all smiles that night. I've told this story before. We ended up meeting up after the NFL draft, and Mike Leach doesn't want to talk football, but he wanted to talk about how Charles Cross did everything you're supposed to do. And what he told me was, I never had to worry about him. Right. Yeah, you have to worry. You got 85 guys, 100 guys. There's always that group that you got to worry about, whether they're going to class, whether they're getting to the weight room, whether they're doing, their rehab, whether they're doing the thing, study hall, and all these different things that are going into trying to build a culture and a program. Leach was, I didn't have to worry about him. Never. He said, Charles, it was like, all right, we got Charles Cross. We know he'll be good. He'll do what he's supposed to do, which credit to who raised Charles Cross.
Right.
Okay. And Steve will know more about that because he covered his recruitment when you beat out Bama, and then while he played, and then left tackle, got paid a fortune. Jackson can look it up if he's got a minute. He got paid a fortune in the offseason. Another great Mississippi story of a young man who did what he's supposed to do and then has parlayed that into extraordinary wealth and now a Super Bowl champion.
He got what?
How much, big dog?
He got 104.4 through 4?
Well, he plays one of the three premium positions. Left tackle, they were talking about him all day, and he grades out at a super high level. and he's just an absolute beast of a dude.
He $75 million guaranteed the first year of the extension, which is this year.
That can probably buy a pretty good farm and beautiful home in the Laurel, Jones County area.
We got 40 and a half for the first year. Yeah, they front loaded that bad boy.
Plus, he had already made some money after being a first-round pick.
Right. Oh, yeah, he did all right.
Okay.
He's doing okay. There was another Clinton. There was a Clinton boy in there.
Talk to me.
Cam Akers got another ring, technically on the practice squad.
Okay, well, good.
Ring
I'm glad
number
he's
2.
hanging around and
Hanging
getting
in there,
paid.
getting paid.
All right.
2 rings.
Well, there you go. There you go. And
A Ram and a Seattle ring. That's tight.
yeah.
You got both NFC West rings.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Do you feel good about it?
I feel good about rings,
Okay.
except the travel ball rings. But yeah,
Oh, wow.
it's the worst things ever.
I probably need to
Who in the world
probably
did that?
need to nip some of that.
Some
but
of it. Do not-
the horse is out of the barn.
Trophies are okay. Look, I understand. I don't like giving them to everybody, but don't give everybody a ring. Why are these kids running around with these rings in their hands? What do they want?
Because we're all crazy and parents are crazy.
I want to know how much those rings cost.
I don't know. But
Either-
somebody's created a business there. Once those businesses are created, they don't want it to go away either.
Oh.
And when you have 97 tournaments a weekend, that means you've got times 10 kids on you got 970. I mean, you got thousands and thousands of rings that you can sell.
Somebody's printing.
Yeah.
Because that is so cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, they got to be getting 100 plus for each ring.
Um,
I bet it's 150 a ring, and they probably get them for 20. Yeah, I'm gonna look into that. I'll sink my teeth into that.
you should get into
The ring
the travel ball,
Yes.
softball, baseball, I'm assuming volleyball, and soccer. Those are kind of
Are they all doing rings?
I would think so.
Oh,
Yeah, hell yeah.
no.
I mean, are we breathing?
No, man.
I mean, we've got to have 4,000 tournaments a weekend,
Yeah.
which means you got 4,000 champs, which means times 10.
Why don't we go back to medals? Weren't those easy to print off and cheaper?
I don't.
You just give everybody a crusty medal. You just hand them a medal. That thing's going to, it's going somewhere.
I think we got a couple of bucks and we went to the concession stand
Well, that's way
and
better.
got a hot dog and some bubble gum.
Yeah, that's
You know
what
the
happened.
bubble gum that in the wrapper that was so
Zuka
good
Joe?
when
Double bubble.
no, that's
Zuka
just
Joe?
yeah. No, I think so. It's like
Zuka Joe
it was
had cartoons.
red and blue and white wrapper.
Had the cartoon inside of it.
Yeah, I think so.
That's what Bazooka Joe.
Okay. There may have been one more. I mean, that was big living.
Yeah, he probably had double bubble then.
Yeah.
There's a double bubble tie to Mississippi State.
Okay.
Yeah, real big one. Remember Hank Flick used to have a big old bucket of it.
Who?
Yeah, Flick. Hank Flick.
Oh, Hank Flick. Okay. The late great professor at Mississippi State.
Like, great.
Yeah. All right.
Good dude.
Let's see.
He would be a big fan
Nick.
of O'Connor.
Nick on the Golden Moon Casino text line 601-885-3776. Hell, they get a damn ribbon at these dance competitions. Spend $10K a year to get a ribbon. Oh, Nick, you're in the throes of it, brother. Love you. You can find us on X at Bowbounds. Steve Robertson on Charles Cross at 8:30 and MSU baseball.
So this team's going to be built on, we're going to kick you in the teeth, all right? And when you punch us back, we're going to smile at you. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, all right? And we're going to stand up. And then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down, all right? And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up. And then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Well, that's Dan Campbell, head football coach for the Detroit Lions, but the last one standing was the Seattle Seahawks. So, John Snyder, with another Super Bowl general manager of the Seattle Seahawks, was there during the whole run of Pete Carroll, Legion of Boom, Russell Wilson, Marshawn Lynch. Y'all know the drill. Lockett and all those guys. And then he was able to hang on and then reboot the roster with draft picks and some really, really nice and shrewd free agents moves, transactions. And your Seattle Seahawks are the Super Bowl champs. So, and I know I'm receiving text on the Golden Moon Casino text line about the game being boring. Look, I get where we are today and how offenses have opened up the last 25 years or so, and what all the spread and the vertical passing game and all the guys that we reference, including Lane Kiffin and Mike Leach, and the list goes on and on. Sean Payton, just right down the road for years, and the high-flying Saints. But defense still wins. I know. And it was a historic performance by the Seattle Seahawks. But I also understand that y'all wanted a closer game and the Patriots to make it, and they just couldn't do it. I mean, they were just, between the Seahawks defense and the Patriots not having, the right, ingredients. Okay. It wasn't going to work. I think we all saw that earlier. Punt. And the Seahawks did a good job of just chipping them, just field goal. And then finally, the dam broke and they found, a couple of TDs. So there we go.
Take the points.
That's it.
Get moving, get rolling.
Get rolling?
That's it. Take the points.
Okay.
It's like, in basketball, you see 1, you see 100.
Yeah.
It's the motto I live by.
Is that the motto you live by?
If I can find 1 bucket, I can find 100.
Okay.
I just got to get rolling.
All right. Steve Robertson, 8:30 on Charles Cross and Mississippi State baseball. I don't think any Mississippi State or Ole Miss fans want to talk hoops. So we will be heavy in the hoops in March because we're still going to hammer. Nobody covers March Madness like we do. I love it. Y'all know the drill. Been to a couple of Final Fours. I can't get enough of it. And we'll be setting everything up. And it still does not – it's better when our teams are in, but it's still amazing. And there's nothing better than Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the first weekend. And then the Sweet 16 weekend is also awesome. And then we'll just kind of let the chips fall where they may. But the Dogs and the Rebs are not good this year, and they're not going to be good. And I guess the most exciting thing to happen maybe in the last couple of weeks with Mississippi State and Ole Miss hoops is the fact that Chris Beard got thrown out in Knoxville last week. Right. And he was dog cussing everybody that he saw. And, sometimes coaches do that. Yeah. He was obviously livid. And I watched the video over and over and over again. Now, I'll be honest. I've kind of checked out. And on Saturday, Wilkes and I were at the Waste Management Open. Mississippi State started at 11 a.m. in the morning, 10 a.m. our time. Wilkes looked down his phone. We were walking into the 16th hole to watch the tournament. And Wilkes said, Dad, the game started. And that was it. I was like, okay. And then we went on to something else. Good. So, y'all, I have to say this. I got to frame this up the right way. So the first group was Ricky Fowler. And Ricky Fowler is a favorite of young people. Yeah. Like Wilkes and all his crew love him. And Wilkes and some buddies got to follow Fowler 2 years ago when he played so well at the Sanderson Farms. And that's a big deal when you're at that time 19 years old. And so when you're on the 16th hole where everybody's partying,
right?
And we were on the adult side. Across from us is the big grandstand. It's like a student section at Ole Miss,
right,
or Mississippi State, or LSU
when they're winning.
Right. Yeah, like Ole Miss has been. Okay. I mean, they're loud. They're doing all these chants. They're doing something different every 3 minutes. They're having fun. They're young, and they have all these nicknames for the golfers. Well, Ricky Fowler's was Big D Rick.
Yeah.
And it rhymes with Rick.
Yeah, of course.
So they were chanting that as Ricky was down on the tee box, okay, because we're pinned high in a box on the 16th, right across from the quote-unquote student section of the Waste Management Open. And they start going, Big blank Rick.
Nice.
Big. And it's thousands of people. And I'm looking, I'm like, and then Fowler hits his shot on the green.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's pretty strong.
Give the people what they want.
And then, you know, I guess he's putting, it's a par 3. He's putting for birdie. And the chant is just thousands of people, and I'm laughing, and everybody around us is laughing, and all these kids, 18 to 25 years old, I'm guessing,
loving life,
no show, and different groups of them wear all kinds of crazy stuff. You know, Cashmere Keith goes through, and they've got all these nicknames, and now that golf is so YouTube driven, and that's why it's got which is brilliant, you know, the younger generation, and that's why golf's seen this boom post COVID, right? But when they started chanting that to start out of the gate, it was funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, you're at it's still a very, very, very high level prestigious tournament.
Sure.
But they they brought it in from a couple of years ago I didn't see anybody not able to walk and all that stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Because you used to
they cleaned that up when things went side. I'm not saying that people didn't get whatever.
Right.
But you didn't see people having to be held up by their buddy.
Right.
To get up to another little area to watch a hole.
Sure.
But I'm just going to tell you all that. This was the best young people or student section or whatever you want that I've ever seen in my life. Hey. And SEC, when you're winning, like Ole Miss has been winning in football, or LSU's about to win in football, or Georgia's been winning in football, SEC is loud and fun and obnoxious and crazy and energy and vibe. That's what they don't ever stop, by the way. Starting at 9-something in the morning, we were some of the last people to leave because Wilkes wanted to watch every. Of
course.
They don't stop with the chants. It's non-stop for 8 hours. And they're having a big time.
I mean, for golf, it's got to be the most included.
It's the best atmosphere in golf, period, end of discussion. It's close, not right? Close.
I know it's different than the Masters, but still it's probably
the
better.
Only one that would rival it, and you still don't have the same thing, is when the Ryder Cup gets rolling on your home turf and you're winning. Of course, we haven't done a lot of that here.
Nah.
But you know the drill. Yeah. And over in Europe, when they're rolling and they're hosting, they get rolling and chanting and taunting and, you know, having fun and all that stuff. Steve Robertson, genespage.com, 247 Sports, coming up on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. If you need French drains or a new driveway, redone driveway, new driveway, or foundation repairs, existing new construction, Superior Foundation. Call Todd Sandridge today. Superior.ms. Steve Robertson next. Good morning. Welcome into the Out of Bounds show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone.
Hot take.
Oh, man. Will we have a team in the College World Series? Interesting. Dude, it's extremely difficult to get there, but we have super talented teams in the state of Mississippi with Coach Oz at Southern Miss, and Bianco is in his 47th year at Ole Miss. And then Brian O'Connor is in year 1 at Mississippi State. And Ole Miss has been winning in football, so they're all like good, cozy, and, good spot. They don't even care about basketball. And, they'd have gotten into it, maybe in a few weeks, like last year at the end when they got hot. But they've been winning in football at the highest level in the history of their university. And so things are good. Mississippi State, on the other hand, was not good in football, and they're not good in basketball. And so in baseball, you have one hell of a roster. And I saw the preseason accolades like y'all did around Ace Reese and Sullivan and several others. And what O'Connor was able to do in the portal, he did not mess around. And so, and I know you wanted the guy from Virginia that went to Tennessee, and then Tony Vitello went to the San Francisco Giants. That may be kind of a Bruce Pearl, Stephen Pearl thing. We'll see. I know they promoted from within. It wasn't good timing, and so on. And we'll see how that looks. But Mississippi State fans are excited. They want to win some games. They're super competitive people too. But it puts even more, not that Brian O'Connor's worried about your pressure, but it puts even more pressure on the baseball program because the football program's been a disaster. And basketball, both in Starkville and Oxford, but in Starkville is where I'm going right now, is not good this year the way that you missed on the portal in both places. And we'll just have to see, Jans is going to have to make some changes on the staff. And as we've been talking about, if you don't have a scouting department, real deal, you can't just, the assistant coach that handles most of this for Jans is just, he's not capable of doing that. That's not, and it's really not,
overwhelmed.
It's just not a skill set. When he started doing this, the portal wasn't in, and
right.
And or the portal wasn't a thing. And I'm not surprised.
So is there a position on each staff that should be dedicated to portal?
100%. You need a general manager in college basketball, just like you need a general manager. And Austin Thomas is the general manager for Pete Golding at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
And Mark Butler is the general manager for Jeff Levy at Mississippi State. And then some people, there's 1 in 1 million, and that's Kurt Signetti that can be his own GM, but that you can't go off that blueprint.
Right? No,
nobody's replicating.
Do not copy that.
Yeah,
you will fail.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, the point is, Mississippi State fans are on the edge of their seat to win in a sport that they like,
Correct.
And they love baseball. Okay? So, there you go.
And they should feel good going into the year, obviously.
Yeah.
Are they their top 5 preseason, right?
Yeah. But, and there's too many polls.
Right, but
they're ranked 4th in a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So, LSU's up there, as you know, and UCLA and so on. Mm-hmm. So, and don't they play UCLA next? I'm going to Dallas next week. In the Globe Life thing. Don't they start that tournament with UCLA? They play the 11 a.m. game, not this weekend, but next. I think it's UCLA, but we'll have to see. So, how that looks.
Arizona State.
Oh, Arizona State.
They got them in Vatek, then UCLA.
Oh, so I was right, but it's at the end.
March 1.
Okay. So Arizona State, Vatek,
right, and then
UCLA.
That's right. Oh, that's all at the. That's all out there in Arlington.
Okay.
Globe Life.
I have not been to that.
It looks
stadium.
Place looks really nice.
Yeah.
Obviously.
So if I hold and go, I've already booked my stuff, but I've been traveling a lot. Yeah, if I hold and go, I'm going to look forward to that. Right?
Yeah.
The Mississippi State College of Business is doing a big deal on Saturday. So if you're an alum in the area or going, you're going to want to go out there and see Dean Scott Grawl and the crew out there. They're going to have a big time at Globe Life in Arlington next weekend, next Saturday, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. And that's a super smart move. The MSU College of Business rented out an area at Globe Life. And you need to go by there and check it out. All right. What's up?
They're killing it. That college, that classic that they're having out there at Globe Life is just, they got everybody. Because, they do it February 13th through 15th, February 20th through 22, and then they do it the third weekend, 27th through the 1st.
They do that many?
3 weekends.
Really?
Each weekend has a different slate of teams, 6 teams each weekend. First weekend, you got Alabama, Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas Tech, and Vandy.
Damn.
That's just strong. Second weekend, Auburn, Florida State, Kansas State, Louisville, Michigan, Nebraska. I mean, Auburn, Florida State.
Well, you didn't say Mississippi.
No, it's Mississippi State's third week.
The third week. So
Arizona
it's
State,
2 weeks from now.
Right.
I got my weeks mixed up.
Tennessee, A&M, UCLA, and Vatech.
Got it. So I'm not going until, thank God. So if I go, I'm going on the 27th.
Correct.
Okay. All right, cool. It's even better.
Wow.
All right.
I bet those 3
That
weeks.
gives me a couple of weekends at home.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Nice. Will you go over that last weekend with Mississippi State again one more time, all those teams?
Mississippi State.
Okay.
Texas, I just closed it out. I was trying.
Of course you did. All right, that's okay. We'll get it
I
back.
don't remember what it was.
Like,
That's what I can play. There it is. Got it. Aha. Tennessee, A&M, UCLA, Vatech, and Arizona State.
let's go slower.
Yeah. Arizona State. Obviously, you have Mississippi State.
Willie Bloomquist. All
That's
right.
him.
Former MLB player. All right, go ahead.
They could hit Tennessee.
Okay.
Vitello.
Josh Elander or whatever his name
That
is
was his
who
name.
they promoted. I can't remember.
That's the
That was
Vitello
Vitello's young buck that everybody loves. Is 31 years old. I can't remember.
He's 31.
Something 32.
Oh,
He's
man.
young.
Oh, he's in. That's going to be a tough.
When Vitello went to the San Francisco Giants, they promoted from within.
That's tough. He's not going to do well with the Giants. You got Texas A&M, the Aggies,
Okay.
UCLA, preseason,
Number one in some polls.
and Vatech.
Interesting.
I like that. I
Virginia.
wonder how these people got their bids in.
I don't
Like
know
how
how.
Vatech slip in.
Well, they're in Blacksburg, and that's in the Mid-Atlantic region, and it's cold as all get out. So
Yeah.
they need to come down somewhere and play inside and make sure they get games in.
Sure.
That's why you see these teams like Michigan and Ohio State and Minnesota and so on come down here and go through big 2-week stretches of playing baseball so that they can trying to get some games in hopefully either inside areas or warmer weather.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think Vatech's ever made they've never been to Omaha.
Oh, I have no idea.
I'm just wondering how in the world. Because, I mean, you look at some of these are these are some studs.
Really?
I mean, there's some stud teams. There's
Oh,
a lot
absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot of Omaha in those teams,
Well, yeah, UCLA,
right? Lived forever.
they
A&M's
beat
been
Mississippi
there.
State in the National Championship Series in
12.
2013 with those 2 ace pitchers that went on to become first-round picks in the Major League Baseball draft.
Is that 2-0? Is that
Yeah.
back it was, yeah.
Yeah, because I flew in for the second game.
Was that Stratton and them? Yeah, Stratton was on that squad.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I can't remember if Stratton left in 12 and was drafted after the 12 season to the San Francisco Giants. Because Butch kind of put together they didn't really have an ace that year. That was the year they would pitch somebody for 3 innings and then pitch 47 people to finish it out. And Butch Thompson figured it, who's now the Auburn coach, kind of came up with the model. Everybody made a big deal out of it and all that stuff.
You're right. He was out of there in 12.
Okay. Yeah, he was.
Dang.
Yeah. He was on the front end of Cohen and Butch Thompson and Lane Burroughs out of Tupelo.
Out of Tupelo.
Which, speaking of Tupelo, Fulton, Mississippi, Chad Ramey, Mississippi State alum, finished in the top 50 yesterday, went home with a check, finished 4 under.
Shut up.
And at the Waste Management Open, which is not easy to do because Jordan Spieth didn't even make the cut.
Yeah.
And it was super cool to see him put up another good week. For a minute there, I thought he was going to get 5 or 6 under, but it was awesome to see him finish another PGA tournament. He's already won on tour, which is ridiculous.
That's cool.
And, all you have to do is have that one more week again over the next guy, and then have one more week. And all of a sudden you've been on tour for a long, long time. He won in the Dominican, in Punta Cana, I guess, but
right.
a few years ago. And then he and his buddy came in second last year at the Zurich, which is a phenomenal tournament, what they've done down in New Orleans. One of the only, or maybe two, where they let you pair up with a buddy, but they finished in the top 2 or 3, because I think 2 big names, Rory or somebody, or JT and somebody won maybe down there last year. But Chad Ramey out of Fulton, Mississippi, played golf at Mississippi State, finished in the top 50 out there this weekend. We got to see him on 16. It was so much fun. That was cool. So he had some Hail State mania. He may not have known it, but he had Hail State people rooting for
Like
him.
that. Nice.
Yeah.
That's tight, though. I mean, that kid's he's 33.
He's got several more years left. He's from Fulton, Mississippi, Tupelo area. How about that?
Long way up.
That's your stomping
I
ground?
got no business up there.
Okay. They probably don't even let you in that county.
I've done a
Was
little
it
business
Itawamba?
out there. Is it Itawamba?
I think it is.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
We do have to.
When I run for statewide office, I'm going to have to, campaign in every county,
that's right.
all 82, and I will be going through
Better know where you're at.
Itawamba.
We do have to send condolences, though, right?
Hey, thank you to Jeffrey for texting us. Chad Ramey walked away with over $24,600 yesterday, finishing in the top 50 of the Waste Management Open, Mississippian and Mississippi State grad. General manager of that course, MSU grad, and then the tournament chairman last year, and he's called the Big Chief this year, Matt Mooney, Mississippi State grad. So, and then Shane Powers out there, he lives out there, and it's a group, man. Ran into some Freeport McMoran guys. Richard Ackerson's the CEO of Freeport McMoran and MSU accounting grad, College of Business. And that group was funny as hell. I just didn't know I was going to run into that many. And then the old Waverly guys, it was an absolute trip. So we met people from all over, but then there was a lot of Mississippi around us. It's just crazy that this little state produces all these people in sports and business and so on. So it was a super ton of fun. Hey, we're driven by RPT and Rick's Pro Truck, 3 locations, Gluckstadt in Madison County. That's where Casey is. He's the big Notre Dame fan. Lakeland Drive, Flowwood, RPT and Rick's Pro Truck. And then, of course, RPT Commercial. RPT Commercial is in Pearl, diagonal from Miss Kelly Furniture. RPT Commercial. RicksProTruck.com, baby. Trucks live here. Number 1 Jeep, truck, SUV, accessory stores in the Southeast. 3 of them right here in the metro area: Gluckstadt, Flowwood, and Pearl. Spray and bed liners, lift kits, tires, and wheels, RPT. Also want to give a shout out to Luke and the Rogue Men's Store. Peter Millar, the Rogue Men's Store. And what did Luke send me earlier? All right, the Rogue sale continues today, 65 to 80% off all seasonal items at the Rogue Men's Store. Suits, shoes, shirts, pants, and more from Jack Victor, Peter Millar, Martin Dingman, hottest shoes in the country, and more at the Rogue Men's Store. Now, coming up in the next week or so, I'm going to tell you about their new Peter Millar, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State stuff. They've come up with this new M over S Peter Millar pullover with the state of Mississippi on the sleeve. It's
nice.
going to be really cool. As soon as they hit, I'll let you know. They're stocked up on the Ole Miss football, college football playoff stuff. They've got a couple of really, really, really nice pieces from Peter Millar coming for M over S college baseball, Mississippi State, which is, freaking awesome.
Ooh, baby.
I agree. College baseball's here.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah, we can go into college baseball, still do March Madness and the NFL draft, and go from there. And even though the Dogs and the Rebs are not good in basketball, Florida's coming on. Let me switch gears. The Out of Bounds show is brought to you by the Rogue. Our trip to the Waste Management Open brought to you by the Rogue Men's Store and their super cool Peter Millar golf gear. But Florida, watch out. Typical. They're coming on. And then I know Vandy took a loss to Oklahoma. You play 18 games, whatever. I know Oklahoma's not any good. They're going to fire their coach. But they go to Nashville and win. Vandy's dangerous. Mm-hmm. I don't care that they lost last weekend. You play 35 games, you're going to lose games. Vandy is, I think there's somebody to watch out. Actually, I think Kentucky is somebody you need to watch out for. I know they're very, they're up and down, which kind of everybody is. But when they're rolling, they're rolling. And they've got a couple of absolute dudes. And here's any of these teams that I'm talking about with Bucky Ball at A&M and, of course, Florida and Kentucky, it's not the same league this year, but we've got several teams that can play their way into the second weekend. Don't kid yourself. Just because it's not super duper, oh my gosh, loaded like last year, don't put anything past Todd Golden at Florida, Pope at Kentucky, Bucky at A&M, Rick Barnes. I mean, we got some stuff going on here that could still get fun and electric. It's just not going to be Beard or Jans this year. They're both mad as hell. They're going to make some changes. They're going to make another run in the portal. All it takes is 2 players. Let's let the chips fall where they may. But we will be all into March Madness because we absolutely love college hoops. I did see the North Carolina shot, even though I was in Scottsdale all weekend. The North Carolina shot to beat Duke on Saturday was filthy. Mm-hmm. Absolutely filthy. I mean, when your guard takes the ball down the left side of the lane and throws the thing all the way over to the other corner, opposite side of the court, and your guard who decided not to transfer and stay at North Carolina for years absolutely drains it with the ball in the air and the light going off and everything. And it's mass pandemonium and craziness, then that's pretty cool. In fact, the first one I saw was Garrison Brooks. Remember Garrison Brooks played at North Carolina and then transferred to Mississippi State? His dad's George Brooks, assistant coach at MSU. Gotcha. And he was from the Auburn area, and he went to North Carolina, and he, played under Roy, and then they had a coaching change and whatever. Mississippi State was in Howland, right? Yeah. We're able to get him his last year. Good player. But he had the video on Twitter. He was sitting right behind the dude that drained the 3 on Saturday over Duke. And then Shire pulled a Duke and complained about people storming the court. Nobody is they're
uptight.
Well, nobody whines more than Duke basketball coaches.
Right.
So Shire definitely took from Coach Krzyzewski, Coach K.
Yeah.
Hot garbage.
And people were just crucifying them on the Twitters.
Mm-hmm. We don't acknowledge that bucket.
We?
No.
What do you mean we?
Us Dukes. Us Blue
Now,
Devils.
I know that you wear Duke stuff in here.
I love Duke.
I love that you went with either the best or one of the best college basketball programs to like.
It was brought to me.
Oh, what? How?
4th grade.
Tell me about it.
They sent me a letter in the mail.
Is this when you were a real good student?
Yeah.
So when everybody gets that letter, it's like 7th grade, you get a Duke something,
4th
6th grade.
Yeah, I was 4th.
Okay.
I was always a good student, first and foremost. But yeah, I got it was something with my math scores or something like that. So they sent me a letter,
Okay.
and I mean,
That's what it was. Yeah, they've had that program for decades.
As soon as I got that letter,
Right.
though, it was over.
Whoever came up with that on their campus to kind of
Killed it.
Yeah, well, yeah, to tie into elementary and junior high students was brilliant.
At the same time, I think Reddick was doing his thing, or right around.
Okay.
Yeah. So then, you know.
So which title was like the one that had it? So when I was growing up in '86, they go to the Final Four under Krzyzewski,
Right.
but they lose
Right.
to Never Nervous Purvis and Louisville and Denny. And I hated Denny Crum because he took Kenny Payne away from Mississippi State and Bob Boyd. Okay, and then they beat him, but I loved that Duke team. Then I started to hate Duke and love UNLV, and UNLV hammered them in 1990, but then Duke came back and got them in 91 and won it. Krzyzewski finally punched his ticket 91, 92.
Right.
So those are the ones that that kind of
stand out
to me in high school with, as you know, Leitner, Hurley,
right,
and Grant Hill and all those guys. For you, what was your Duke team that kind of you were like, oh wow, Duke's awesome?
It was before Reddick. It was
Okay.
it was 01. It was Chris Duhon.
Yeah, I remember Duhon, a hell of a player.
A great player, good point guard.
Yeah,
Played some real good ball.
you know, more of a phenomenal college player than NBA.
He stuck around.
Oh, he
definitely
I'm
stuck.
sure he had a nice journeyman career, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Oh no. Then you had,
But 01,
that was him, Jay Williams, Mike Dunleavy, Shane Battier, who ended up being one of my favorite players.
man, Jay Billis has always said that Battier is the sharpest person he knows.
He was
now
the
think
nicest
about
guy
that
ever.
because probably about what is that? About a 16-year gap, age gap. But Billis, I can remember years ago, Billis was like, Shane Battier should be president of the United States at some point. But yeah, that was some names, man.
Yeah, that was
now
fun for me.
Battier could freaking play.
I loved him.
If Jay Williams doesn't get in that accident, was it a motorcycle accident when he went with the Bulls?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Battier was so cool.
Yeah. Well, he looked cool,
He
too.
did look so cool.
The shaved
I
head
loved it,
and all
man.
that.
He killed it.
Yeah. He was a guy that I actually liked for Duke once I started hating him with Hurley. Hurley bothered me.
Yeah, should.
But good player. All right, Steve Robertson is going to join us.
Right.
Coming up next on the Out of Bounds Show and the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. Lunch today is brought to you by Burgers Blues Barbecue, Dogwood Flowwood, Chicken Fried Chicken, Blue Plate.
WRKS Pickens Jackson.
All systems go.
Live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the Bank Plus studio.
Is now warning.
Live in the studio. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming live worldwide on the Out of Bounds radio app. And on your radio at ESPN 105.9. All set? Let's go. The Zone.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome into the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Brought to you by Pearl River Resort, Golden Moon Casino, Vegas-style sportsbook. Bet $50 there. Play award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club for $40. Bet 50, play 40 on the property of Pearl River Resort. We're 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Thanks for hanging out with us, making us your sports and entertainment show of choice in the great state of Mississippi. And we're going to start this off with Steve Robertson, genespage.com, 247 Sports. We're going to talk Charles Cross, and Steve kind of reflecting on his recruitment and playing at Mississippi State. And then, of course, first-round pick for the Seahawks, now Super Bowl champ. And then in the next segment, we're going to get into Mississippi State baseball preview with Brian O'Connor, Aiden Till, Ace Reese, Dane Burns, Sullivan, and more. So Steve Robertson joins us on the show. Steve, what is your first memory when you first knew about Charles Cross on the radar from down there in Jones County?
Well, the first thing I said is it's good that we've got a bona fide left tackle prospect in the state of Mississippi. That didn't come around very often. We have a lot of guards. We have a few centers, and occasionally we have a right tackle. But it's kind of rare for this state to produce a left tackle prospect of that caliber. And, we felt like State was in a good spot with him, and then all of a sudden he commits to Florida State. And the thing that, my sources were saying in both Jones County and in Oktibbeha County is this thing is far from over, just give it time. And ultimately he does flip to Mississippi State late. But yeah, he was a special young man for sure.
Now walk me through it, Steve, because you keep up with this more than I do. He was a little bit different. For years, Sherrill and Mullen would grab guys that you needed to take weight off of. They'd grab a 300, 310, 320, 330 dude. Charles comes in at like 250 or 260, and they were able to, which is ideal, and they were able to stack weight on him. Do you remember, within whatever range, kind of when he ended up on campus, how much did he weigh?
It was at somewhere around 260,
okay,
if I remember correctly. But yeah, so it's like you get him in, and one of the things that happens a lot of times, too, with high school offensive linemen is they get overweight in high school, right? And then they get to campus, they get that baby fat off of them, and then you have to learn to play at a new playing weight because everything's a little different, right? It was the reverse for Charles. So he's able to add good weight. He gets in, learns proper technique, proper hand placement, and then his body is maturing as his knowledge of the game is maturing. And so, people forget, he didn't play hardly at all in the beginning because he just didn't have the mass.
Right.
And lo and behold, you put him out there. Even some of the offensive linemen then were saying, this dude is different. And so it was apparent early on that he had the athleticism. He had the footwork. He had the drive and the will to get better. He just needed to add some mass. And, of course, they get you on the nutrition plan and they get, a weight training program that is tailored specifically for you, your position, and your needs. And Charles embraced every bit of that. And now he's one of the highest paid football players in the history of the National Football League.
$104 million last year. Charles Cross is a Super Bowl champ and first-round pick out of Mississippi State. I was in Las Vegas the night that he was picked and hung out with Mike Leach. And as Steve knows, because he knew Leach well, Leach didn't really want to talk a lot of football. But that night, he opened up about what a great kid Charles Cross was. Was that your experience, that he was a fantastic young man, Steve?
Oh, absolutely. And I remember, he opted out of the bowl game, and everybody is like, oh, man, like, yeah, I kind of get it. Yeah. This guy's fixing to sign a huge contract, and, he didn't have anything to gain really by playing in the Armed Forces Bowl, But, the thing about Charles, I remember, like, meeting his family, like, they were not these kinds of people that had, like, stars in their eyes, right? I mean, it's just like they were like, hey, we hope he gets a chance to play in college and do well and then have the opportunity to play in the National Football League. That was the dream. Well, this family's living the dream now, probably a dream so incredibly vibrant they did never even truly considered, the fact that he's so incredibly well compensated and he's playing, considered one of the top left tackles in the game. It's just like these are people from Jones County, Mississippi that that we run into at Walmart,
Sure.
and it's such a great story, not just because Charles is such a good dude, but because of that family, so down to earth, so Mississippi, so grateful for everything, for his time here at Mississippi State. I mean, you'd see everybody in the family with his jersey on, and the number on the back. They're incredibly supported people, and just it's so refreshing. I remember like the day that Charles committed, I had a chance to talk to his dad, and it was like a superstar type moment for him, like to see his son play in Southeastern Conference, his son be able to stay reasonably close to home so they can take part in all of it. And now you look at what's happened, what it's become. It's just such a great, great story.
But help me out. Did he play 1 year with Moorhead and 2 years with Leach, Steve?
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Cause,
okay.
I got to go back and get the timeline right because Marcus Johnson was very much a part of that recruitment. And to be honest with you, if Marcus isn't here, I don't know if State gets him. Because they just kind of stayed on him. And Marcus, good coach, probably an even better recruiter, and he was instrumental in getting them. Flipped. Now, I'm double checking my numbers right here, but I think you're right about that. I think
now, weren't they competing with Tim Brewster at Florida State, and that was when Saban was absolutely rolling? So it was a damn battle, right?
Yeah, it was an absolutely legit recruiting battle, right? And this is where geography helps you a little bit, and you have an opportunity, of course, to get a guy. Yeah, it's his class of 19. Yeah,
okay.
Class of 19. That would be more hit year, But yeah, to make a long story short, I'm going to get my timeline mixed up a little bit here. But yeah, this was not a situation where State got him by default. This is a situation where Marcus Johnson did a great job staying on a young man that thought he knew where he wanted to go. And like when Charles committed to Florida State, like he took the whole family out there. It wasn't like it was just something where he just made an emotional decision at the end of a visit. Like everybody went out there. And everybody was on board with going to Florida State. And then ultimately, Marcus Johnson and those guys found a way to convince him, this is going to be a better situation for you. And you know what? It proved to be.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. Charles Cross, Super Bowl champ out of Jones County, went to Mississippi State, first-round pick, Seahawks, and has just gotten better and better and signed a $104 million deal this past year. Steve Robertson, genespage.com, 247 Sports. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. We're going to take a break, and Steve's going to go. We're going to go heavy Mississippi State baseball. So Aiden Teal, Ace Reese, Dane Burns, Garrick Fry, among other. Ryan McPherson. That's like every 5 minutes I run into somebody, and they want to talk about Valencius, or I may have just butchered that, from Virginia. But now I'm hearing more about Ryan McPherson. Steve's going to know way more of what's going on, and evidently there have been some hella battles going on the last last fall, and then picking it up the last 4 weeks or so, as opening day is Friday. Steve Robertson will go to every game, all 56 games. He'll watch every single pitch of every single inning. MSU Baseball Preview with Steve Robertson, brought to you by Two Brothers and Older Brother Restaurants in Starkville. That's the place to go this baseball season.
baby.
Opening day Friday. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome into the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 1059 The Zone, brought to you by Mississippi's College Town. FlyStartable.org. Direct flights every day from Dallas, Fort Worth, and Atlanta. Delta Atlanta, American or United, I can't remember. Shane Power took it in a couple of weeks ago. He said it was great to be able to fly from Phoenix to Dallas and Dallas straight into GTR and be on campus in 15 minutes. FlyStartable.org, FlyStartable.org. What an asset for Mississippi State University. Also stopped by Two Brothers in the historic Cotton District and Older Brother Bistro, which is amazing. The Reuben is unbelievable. The Muffaletta, shrimp po' boy. And then also a go-to is Taste Italian Kitchen over on the other side of town. But Mississippi's College Town is ready for you for college baseball, and so is Steve Robertson, who will not miss one pitch. He'll be at all 56 games this year. GenesPage.com, 247-Sports. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Okay, Steve, I don't know how much, if we can get to everything. We can do this again in a couple of days. But Mississippi State's ready to win after football being a disaster and basketball has been a disappointment. And now you got Brian O'Connor, as you well know, as the head baseball coach for MSU. And let's jump right into the starting rotation. So lay it out for me. You know, people are talking McPherson and all these other guys. Tell me what you see Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Walk us through it, Steve Robertson.
If I had to bet today, I would say it's, Thomas Valenkas, Ryan McPherson, Charlie Foster. And we had our media availability last week, and when 4 pitchers were selected to meet with the media, it was those 3 and Ben Davis, who I expect to be a factor on the out of the bullpen. Could be the closer, could be a guy that's the first guy out of the pen in certain situations. But, I think they're in a good spot there. Now, granted, you know what Ryan McPherson can do. Valenkas obviously was a weekend starter at UVA last year, a guy that Brian O'Connor knows well. But Charlie Foster was a guy that we talked about around this time last year as a guy that we thought could factor in as a Sunday starter last year. And then he was injured much of the year. So I like the 2 lefties on the weekend, and I think that's something that gives people a lot to prepare for. But I think Justin Parker's got more pieces to play with than at any point in his Mississippi State tenure.
Okay, so if you had to bet $100, McPherson or Valenquist Friday?
I think it's Valenkas on Friday, just because of the fact that there's already some trust, I guess, with Brian O'Connor.
Sure.
But you could go either way. But the left, right, left trio I think works really well. But McPherson was a guy last year, even as a younger guy, that threw some high leverage innings, and down the stretch, he was as good as anybody. And that right-handed spin, it's just one of those things too. Like, hey, you had a kid from Ole Miss run into one in the Governor's game, but then McPherson comes back and in the weekend series and gets that big closeout. But McPherson is one of those guys too. We talk about makeup. This is a competitive guy. This is a guy that believes in his stuff. He's not a guy that's scared to get hit. And at this level, you have to be willing to compete at a high level. And that's what I think McPherson brings to the table. He believes that he can face any lineup in America and get outs.
Steve Robertson talking MSU baseball on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Steve, do you believe that this has the potential to be the most talented starting rotation in a long time at Dudy Noble Field?
Well, possibly. You just go back a couple of years, when you had Cal Stevens, Jurangelo, and Nate Doan when he was healthy. That was a really good group. And so I think this group could be as good, if not a little bit better than that. We'll have to see how Foster develops. But, that wasn't starting pitching, surely wasn't the issue a couple of years ago, So, and again, that's Justin Parker, right? And then, Cal Stevens came in as just kind of a middle of the road Big Ten starter from Purdue, and then he ends up being an All-American, and so that's the power of Parker. And so now I believe you have some guys, collectively that may have a higher ceiling as a full staff, not just a rotation. And I think that's a factor in this thing too. And it's interesting. and you're right about the pronunciation. You talk to Vitus, and he goes by Valencius, but Thomas goes by Valenkas. I told him, I said, there's no way I would ever meet a girl and not introduce myself as Tomas Valenkas.
No doubt.
I mean, that's what you do. Could you imagine going in the Cotton District, being able to say that? But yeah, I think Parker's in a scenario now where he's got, Tomas here, and he said, Thomas told us, he said, hey, Coach Parker has shown me things I never even thought about. And a lot of that is just like using the slope and body movement and things like that. So I think the combination of O'Connor, who was a big level pitcher in college and a guy that's made his pedigree, with Justin Parker is the best case scenario for him. I think you're going to see a really polished product when that guy gets on the mound.
Okay. All right. What about the staff as a whole, talent-wise? Where you feel like it's got the potential to be one of – I know I just said starting rotation. I'm talking about A to Z staff as a whole. Do you think it could be one of the most talented in several years?
Yeah, I think so. When you begin to add the bullpen in, they've had at times to kind of piecemeal this thing together. Then you've got Duke Stone, who was committed to Wes Johnson, and then had to have Tommy John. And as he's rehabbing from Tommy John, he's playing first base. I mean, right? It's just nuts. Think about that, right? And so you saw him pitch a little bit last year when he wasn't quite 100%. Well, then he goes to the Cape and is one of the best pitchers in the Cape Cod leagues. And then Tyler Pitzer, of course, ends up being like one of the pitchers of the year in the Cape Cod League. And so those are guys that maybe won't factor on the weekend, but they'll factor, at least on the rotation, they'll factor as guys coming out of the pen. And then there's William Kirk, who's an interesting story. He was in line to be the Sunday starter at UVA last year as a freshman. Ends up tearing an ACL, kind of a freak injury type thing. He's worked his way back. He looked pretty good this past Saturday in the time that we saw him. And so, those are guys, all three of those guys expected to compete for a spot in the weekend rotation. So I don't know if you've had that level of depth in a while when it comes to pitching. Maybe you go back to 21, when you had some guys that were capable of starting on the weekend. But people forget, State won a national championship with basically a starter and a half. You had Bednar, and then, McLeod was good for a while, and then he wasn't good for a while. And, you had Houston Harding, a guy that was a midweek guy that ultimately pitched in Omaha, against Texas. And, so I think that said a lot about that staff's ability to kind of make it work. But I think in this respect, with this group, there's a lot more defined roles and more guys you can count on.
All right, let's do some rapid fire here. Aiden Till, how's he going to factor in, Steve Robinson?
Starting center fielder, probably going to hit leadoff. He's the guy, too, that his metrics are actually pretty comparable to Ace Reese. He only hit, I think, 7 tanks last year, but got to have a lot more around him this year. And he's a legitimate base stealer and a guy that's the top of the order, very smart guy, going to get on base and set the table.
Garrick Fry.
I like him as the number 2. He will play somewhere. Now, it's going. People forget Noah Sullivan's going to be suspended game 1 because of the ejection at Florida State, and Jake Otro is going to be suspended as well. But up at East Carolina,
good for them after that disaster. Go ahead.
That was well worth it. If there was a fine, we could have raised that money in about 30 seconds.
Right.
But yeah, I think Garrick Fry is the guy that has impressed Brian O'Connor. And Oak even said last week, Garrick Fry is a winner. He is, and he is. When he was at North Alabama, he was a leading hitter there. He comes here, finally gets in the order, and he's willing to play left field, a position he's never played before, just to get in the lineup. And he ends up being, one of the most potent guys in your order.
Hey, I got to take a break. Can you do 5 more minutes or so on the other side?
Sure.
All right, Steve Robertson, genespage.com, 247 Sports, Mississippi State baseball preview. He'll be at all 56 games. They're going crazy on his message board, genespage.com, 247 Sports, brought to you by Mississippi's College Town and Two Brothers Smoked Meats and Older Brother Bistro in the historic Cotton District. More on MSU baseball next. MSU, Ole Miss, Southern Miss baseball around the corner. Brian O'Connor in Starkville, Mike Bianco, Oxford, Coach Oz, Southern Miss, college baseball, baby. And hopefully we'll get some good weather this weekend. Good morning, good morning. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. The show is brought to you by Taste Italian Kitchen in the Renaissance and Taste Italian Kitchen in Starkville. Fabulous food, beautiful bar, great place to celebrate college baseball this season in Mississippi's college town. We've got Steve Robertson, genespage.com, 247 Sports. And Steve is walking us through our Out of Bounds college baseball preview, which we're taking a look at the starting rotation, and the lineup will change, but some of the guys will be in there, the whole time, right? So we're taking a look at it, brought to you by Eye Care Professionals. If you need cataract surgery, routine eye exam, LASIK surgery, Eye Care Professionals, Dr. Kirk Jeffries, and the team on Lakeland Drive, 2 locations, Eye Care Professionals, if you need cataract surgery. All right, back to working our way through the lineup with Steve Robertson on the Out of Bounds Show. All right, Steve went over Aiden Till and Garrick Fry. He touched on all right, look, a lot of hoopla and accolades and spotlight on Ace Reese, right, Steve? I mean, big-time Major League Baseball draft prospect, has already played well, has all the skills. Is he up for all of this hype and the spotlight on him this year, Steve?
Yeah, I think he's a legit Triple Crown candidate. I mean, he was in the mix last year in every one of those statistical categories, and needs a few more RBIs out there. But people forget Ace played much of the year with a bum foot. He fouled the ball off his foot at Texas and just kind of played through it. That affected his defense a little bit too. He couldn't always push back to the line. That's resolved now, and he's got more pieces around him. I think Noah Sullivan will kind of continue to play where he's played from a hitting standpoint. But, Ace Reese was a guy that 2 years ago we talked about it, and I told everybody then, this guy's got the potential to be a superstar. I mean, the scouts love this kid. Well, he goes out there last year and has one of the most prolific offensive seasons in the history of Mississippi State baseball, and that's really saying something, So, if he can replicate that this year, get anywhere close to it, that guy's going to sign a huge check in June. He'll be a first-rounder. If he can replicate what he did last year and get anywhere close to it, he's going to be a first-rounder.
All right, and those guys will be in the 3-4. I know you mentioned Sullivan. I'd forgotten about – I remember now, but the Florida State deal. But those 2 guys are in the 3-4 hole. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah, that's what we expect, and that's how they hit this weekend. So we'll see how it goes. But, I think you feel good there. I mean, Sully hit 15 tanks last year, and so when you start working through this order, there's a little bet that we have among ourselves, a little pool. How many double-digit home run guys will you have this year? And every year we always end up maybe one short. And when you look at this group, you start thinking, a lot of these guys have the potential to be double-digit home run guys. I mean, whether that be, where Wires plays, Reach Dahlman's a guy that O'Connor's kind of singled out, has been a consistent performer. The good thing is State's got more bats than they have spots in the order, and that hadn't always been the case. Teams that find the third starter by the middle of SEC play and find production from the bottom third of the lineup go to Omaha.
Yeah.
And I think this is a team you look at and say, that they should be able to do that, provided everybody stays healthy. This is a team at the very least you say is going to host a regional and get to a super, and supers boil down to matchups. But
true.
Yeah, I think you feel good about where you are, but I just don't think offensively there's going to be any holes in this order.
We're live in the Bank Plus studio. He's Steve Robertson. He goes to every game. genespage.com, 247 Sports. Jump on. They've got content for days as Mississippi State baseball opening day on Friday with Brian O'Connor. You mentioned, all right, who's in the 5 hole? Is it Stallman? Where are you going in the 5 hole?
Honestly, I think after the cleanup spot, I think it's going to depend on these next few weeks. I think he'll kind of figure that out and tinker with it a little bit. You got to think if Ryder Woodson plays shortstop, does he fit there? Does Bryce Chance fit there? you probably need a bigger bat. Maybe it's Maluski, the catcher, hitting 5-hole. Maybe because you want some protection for Noah Sullivan. But I think in the middle of this order, you're going to have some guys that are very physical and guys that can hit home runs. But I'm curious to see where Bryce factors in. Every year, everybody comes in and says Mississippi State's going to recruit over Bryce. But he's kind of like that. Like one of those Nirvana singles that just keeps popping up in the top 40. It's just kind of a weird thing, and then he goes out and wins the Diamond Dog Challenge with all these new players and all this new competition. Bryce goes and wins it. And then Bryce is sitting there today as last week. And I think there's a role for Bryce in this team. And if memory serves me correct, he had the highest batting average on the team with 2 outs last year. So he's got a little bit of clutch in him. With Teal coming in, going to center, I think Bryce maybe swings over to left. But it's going to be interesting because there's so many options to work with. I think, the roster composition is intriguing, but also when you start mapping out matchups weekend to weekend, you got more options, I think, than you've had in a long time.
How would you describe the competition, which is what you want? Okay. How would you describe the competition for left field and the batting and hitting and right field? I mean, has it just been relentless, Steve?
Yeah, I think so. And like James Nunnally is a guy that you played a good bit as a younger guy at UVA last year and has a big arm, but he is kind of earmarked as the center fielder of the future. We certainly expect Aiden Teal to spend 1 year at Mississippi State and sign a pro contract this summer. Nunnally is a guy that factored in it right last year. He can factor in some again this year. But again, what do you do with Reed Stallman? You got a handful of guys like Vitas Valenkas. We talked about him. Is he factored at DH? Does Reed Stallman play first? There's still some questions that I think even Brian O'Connor has, and you spend the first month of this season, I think, kind of figuring out who you can trust and what the chemistry looks like 1 through 9 before you get into SEC play. But yeah, there's a lot of names and there's a lot of players. I mean, we hadn't even mentioned Jacob Parker yet. I don't know that he plays a lot early on, but he is the future face of this program. So you hate to call it an embarrassment of riches, but it's certainly a situation where you have a tremendous amount of depth, and it's kind of a good problem to have. And then you begin to think about grooming some of these young guys to take over next year. So maybe you're not so portal reliant next year when it comes to position players.
Steve Robertson talking Mississippi State baseball. You mentioned Ryder Woodson. What should Mississippi State baseball fans be looking for as far as stylistically and what they can expect both in the field and at the plate from this young man?
I've had a chance to visit with him, actually, and there's some blue collar with him. Right now, I don't know there's anybody more blue collar than Gat Sanders. Now, Gat's a bit of a punch and Judy guy, but man, Gat's another one of those guys you just won't ever go away. He just absolutely gives you high energy baseball every time he's on the field. Ryder's a guy that's probably a little more physical at the plate. Gat's more of a singles guy. Occasionally gets a double for you, but Ryder's a guy that can carry the ball out of the ballpark. And had some big swings last year at NC State, some limited opportunities. But, he was brought in to compete at that shortstop spot. But nobody was guaranteed anything. And I think that's one of the things that I go back to these commitment interviews of these portal prospects, even with a guy like Thomas Valenkas that it started every weekend on Saturday for Virginia. They were told the only thing you're going to be guaranteed is an opportunity. You've got to come in and earn every single thing. And that was something that was clearly conveyed to the players because to a man, they all shared that with me. They're like, hey, this is what I was told. They're going to give me a hat and a glove, and I'm going to get to work, and then it's going to be up to me to earn my playing time. And that frames up good culture, right? When you've got people that come in with a sense of entitlement, maybe they don't work quite as hard. But and those guys are not dummies. They have the internet where they live too, so they see all these portal guys coming in. So you knew you better get on your horse and ride, or you're not going to play. And I think that's a good thing. Competition makes everybody better.
Steve Robertson, genespage.com on the Out of Bounds show, ESPN 1059 The Zone. Okay, you mentioned guys were not promised anything. So that's the way Brian O'Connor wants it. It makes sense. I've only had 2 conversations with him. One was a 10-minute 101, which was great. You've been around him more. He's super intense. I mean, as intense as Cohen was as a baseball coach, and Mike Bianco's intense, and, you know, Vitalo, you've spent time with him, and JJ, all these guys are wired up. How would you describe Brian O'Connor, personality-wise, strategically approach, just from being around him the last 6 months, Steve?
I think he is as cerebral as Cohen. I don't think he's as explosive as Cohen. I think he gets the message delivered maybe a little more diplomatically, but it's got some sting to it now. I mean, he's not going to sit there and be their friend. He's not Scott Foxhall, and I don't say that as a criticism of Fox.
No, I get it.
You know, yeah, Fox is kind of like everybody's Uncle Fox, right? He would go out there and, you know, pat you on, are you going to be okay? Brian's a little more direct about things, but I don't think he's going to go out there and tell, Morris Hodges, throw me out of the game like John would, you know. John would want to go out there and get something done. But O'Connor, everything he does is very intentional, you know, and that phrase gets thrown around a lot. But even in the conversations I've had with him one-on-one, he doesn't waste a lot of his time. It's not a pointless thing. Like, I love Mike Leach to death, but, you know, you start talking with Mike, and next thing you know, it's, you know, who's your favorite Animaniac? What's your favorite Kool-Aid flavor? You know, and then he'll rope it back in. Like, all of a sudden you get to the end of it, like, oh, it all makes sense. That's not how O'Connor is. You know, O'Connor's very, very deliberate what he does.
Yeah.
And he wants to win as bad as we do, if not more so. And I think that's one of the things that I think at places like Mississippi State and LSU and Arkansas, you have to have people that are allergic to losing.
Yeah.
And I get the feeling that Brian O'Connor is, that as great as a weekend sweep would feel, that if he takes 2 out of 3, the one that's going to stay with him is the one you lost, because that's where you grow. Oh, we got to shore this up and make sure it never happens again. And I think in times we've had some people that were just happy to take 2 of 3. I think O'Connor's one of these guys. It's like, every game's important. We have to go win today's game. And I think that matters more than anything.
How would you frame up O'Connor embracing the expectations of this fan base? Because from what I've been able to read and see, it doesn't faze him whatsoever.
I don't know that we've had anybody, quite honestly, that gets it. And somebody asked me in another interview sometime, they said, what do you think about O'Connor? Does he get it? I said, I think he gets it better than anybody in the history of getting it has ever done, right? He understands what's expected here at Mississippi State. We didn't go build this grand cathedral to be in road regionals come June. You know, he understands the expectations to host every year. And when we don't get the host, we're not going to be happy about that. We may feel like in a rebuilding year, road regionals acceptable, but that can't be the norm. You know, we got to have postseason baseball in Starkville, Mississippi in June. And so he gets that. And I asked him specifically, I said, you got people right now talking about a potential national championship in year 1 at Mississippi State. How does that sit with you? He said, we run right into it. We run headlong into those expectations. He goes, I wanted to be somewhere that baseball truly matters, where there are expectations, where people see this almost as a religious experience, you know. And I don't know that we've had anybody. And listen, I love Lamonis to death. I mean, I still talk to Chris. But in the very beginning, one day while I'm interviewing him, and I said, yeah, Mississippi State's going to win a national championship during your tenure. And you could tell he did, like, oh, don't say that, you know. And I said, well, let's just go ahead and accept it for what it is. Let's kind of speak it into existence.
Right.
You know, we can't sit here and say, well, Mississippi State's eventually going to win one. You're going to win one, Chris. And I think at times Chris struggled with that, shouldering those expectations.
Agreed.
And this is not a criticism. Everybody's different, you know. But I think O'Connor comes in here, it's like, you know what, hey, yeah, I've won a national championship before, but I can come in here and I can stack up multiple national championships. I've got an administration, a fan base, and facilities that are really unsurpassed in college baseball. It takes a special person to lead this program, and I think Mississippi State has that.
Steve Robertson, genespage.com, 247 Sports, opening day, Mississippi State baseball Friday, brought to you by the best wings in the SEC at Two Brothers, Street Tacos, and then right across the street, Older Brother Bistro, with one of the best Reubens I've ever had in my life. And we'll go shrimp po' boy and muffaletta at Older Brother Bistro in the Cotton District. Steve Robertson, jeanspage.com. Hit it, subscribe right now. All right, Steve, I've got some other names that people are texting in, so we can just kind of go through this. You can hit it for 10 seconds,
Sure.
30. Okay. Dane Burns, go.
Yeah, love him. He was a guy, obviously, that was kind of working his way back. I thought Lamonis and the staff did a really good job kind of keeping him under wraps because he didn't enroll right after he signed. They gave him a year to rehab. Now he's here. He'll be a big-time factor right at that bullpen on the left-hand side.
Jack Bauer, lefty.
I think people need to be patient with him. I mean, he's got the velo. He's just kind of learning to harness that. And so, yeah, he may start out maybe as a midweek closer, but then be a factor on the weekends by the time you get to April, May. But now anybody expecting him to come in here and be Roger Clemens in years one, just setting themselves up for disappointment.
Fair enough. All right, who are – I've asked you about several players. Who's a guy that – I mean, there's not a lot of oxygen in the room. You got a lot of star power coming back. You just walked us through it with Ace and Sullivan and McPherson and the Virginia transfers and so on. Who's a guy either on the mound, on the bump, I don't care, mid-relief, back end, whatever, 3-4 weeks from now, you think, or a guy that people may be surprised starts eating up innings in the batting lineup? Give me a name or two that I haven't thrown out at you that you're like, hey, watch out for this guy by maybe mid-March.
Well, I think I'd start with Ben Davis. And I think last year we only got a glimpse of what he can do. You know, there were times he pitched angry and it kind of got to him, right? He would overthrow, you know. And I think he's learned how to pitch and not just throw. And then Sweeney, the kid from South Carolina, you know, he came in here last year and closed us out. You know, how big a role does he have on the back end? And I think that's really the thing where, number one, you have some options. Do you have a Landon Sims type? I don't know that you have that, but I think you've got enough pieces back there that when your Landon Sims type doesn't pitch, you can still close out ball games. But, you know, I think about some of these younger guys. You know, we talk about like the James Nunnally. You know, I think this team is going to hit a lot of doubles and a lot of home runs. You know, set a school record last year at home runs. I think this team can chase that, but I think you've got to have some guys from a base running standpoint that cause chaos on the base pass. And when you start looking at all these home run hitters, a lot of those guys are base stealers. And so I think that's a factor that you look at too is, you know, what do you do late in the ball game when you need to steal a bag? You know, what do you do, you know, when you need to get a little more speed on the field? You know, I think Nunnally is a guy that kind of factors in there too. Nobody really talks about him that much, but again, I expect him to be a big part of 2027. But I think this year is an important year for him just to kind of establish himself and kind of get a head start into this year, but also into being a full-time starter next year. I think he's a guy that can really help us.
And Sweeney's 6'7", 215 plus pounds.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, and you got to think about what that extension looks like getting down the slope. I mean, like the ball is on you so much quicker, right? I mean, you're talking 10, 11 inches difference from what the regular pitcher has, you know, because he's not just 6'7", he's long limbed, and so the ball's on you a lot quicker. So your reaction time is sped up so much more too, and so it's going to be interesting to see where he factors in. And you know, I'm number one. I'm so glad that Parker's still here because I think the job that he's done has been spectacular, especially last year when you didn't have near as much to work with. Now all of a sudden, these same guys that you had last year, the Ben Davis, the Foster, the McPherson, you know, now you've got those guys back. So they understand your culture and the expectations. And then you bring in some guys that maybe have a higher floor than some of the guys you had recently. So I think we talked about last year, if the pitching could be good, that team could contend for hosting. They did. They didn't pull it off. I think the expectation this year is Mississippi State's hosting.
We'll leave it there. Steve Robertson, Gene's Page, 247 Sports. They've got a whole message board dedicated to baseball, and they'll be locked in this weekend. I think the weather's going to be. I see a little rain, but I think it's going to has a chance to be at least decent plus. Is that what you're seeing, Steve?
Yeah, it's so interesting. It changes so much, you know. And again, the worst thing that ever happened in society is everybody got a weather app on their phone.
No question.
An amateur meteorologist, but Yeah, first it was going to be rain on Friday, and they're supposed to be, rain Saturday and Sunday. By the time we get there, I'm sure it'll all figure out. And Dr. Brown and those folks do a great job too. They'll find a way to get these games in.
All right. You fired up? You excited?
Oh, I can't wait. I absolutely cannot wait. I told my wife, I said, if you could just like put me on like an IV drip and just like shut me down and then wake me up like Friday morning, I'd be good with that. That's just, I'm so ready. Number one, I'm just ready to win. Right.
Right.
When you think about the Mississippi State experience the last couple of years. And this year, you made some gains in football, but you still had a losing record, and basketball's been a disappointment really on both sides. But I think Mississippi State people are just so ready to be good and really good at something where you show up every time you go to the ballpark expecting to win. And I think this team is capable of delivering on that feeling of expectations that, yes, they are going to be very good.
One more question. Sullivan, do you expect him to pitch midweek?
Maybe not as a starter, maybe as an opener every now and again. But he pitched some this weekend, And so when you've got a guy like that can eat up an inning in the midweek and save some wear and tear, yeah, I think you absolutely use him. I don't think he is a factor on the weekends, but yeah, I think he's a guy you can put in there, and kind of like he did last year, So yeah, that's the thing about Sully too. He'll go play first base for you. He'll pitch for you. He'll DH for you. He'll go sell popcorn for you. He's just a team guy all the way around, and he wants to win and wants to win big, and that's the main reason he's back.
Yeah, he's a dude. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
See you.
Steve Robertson on the Out of Bounds Show. Your Mississippi State University baseball preview is brought to you by Mississippi's college town, flystarkville.org. Direct flights into Starkville from Atlanta, Delta, and from Dallas-Fort Worth every day. Direct flights into the Golden Triangle, less than 15 minutes from the Mississippi State campus. As Shane Power said when he flew in from Phoenix, Scottsdale, whatever, it was great to fly into Dallas and fly straight into Starkville. And for those of you coming in from all over the country to celebrate Mississippi State, whatever way, shape, or form, including baseball, flystarkville.org. Mississippi's college town is excited to have daily flights, Delta coming in from Atlanta and then Dallas-Fort Worth. Tremendous asset for the university, for the athletic department, and for alums to be able to get there. And when you land, you can be at Two Brothers or Taste Italian Kitchen in 15 minutes. That is a big, big deal. For Jackson Meadows, I am your host, Bo Bounds. Thanks for listening to the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. I thought that was good. Brad Henderson, Ole Miss baseball color analyst, will join us Wednesday for our Ole Miss Rebels preview with Mike Bianco, who has been there since 2001. Unbelievable. Mike Bianco, he's going to outlive us all and will still be the coach there in 20 years. Long after all of us are done working. But thanks for listening to the show. We had a great time today. It'll be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Search Out of Bounds with Bo Bounds, or YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. Lunch today brought to you by Martins and Livingston. See ya.